Hey everybody, I am hopefully recording this. I recorded it once already and it didn't save it anywhere, so trying it again. This is all one big experiment. Anyways, Sunday for me. You'll hopefully be watching this Monday or early next week sometime anyways. I hope everyone's okay. I know it's a bit of craziness right now, but we'll try and do our best to get through it through video lecture and thinking about fun maps. So this week we're gonna start out by talking about GIS and emergency response, which is a perfect topic for everything that's happening right now. And that will go hand in hand with the lab that we've got planned, which we'll have to see how that all shakes out. If everyone's going to be on campus or off campus, we'll do our best to continue to work on the labs as possible. But this week's lab is the beginning of a 3-part emergency response lab, which turns out to be then lab 10, 11, and 12. So it's the last lab of the semester that's really a 3-parter. So it's spread out over the last few weeks of the semester. So we'll see how GIS can be applied to all sorts of emergency responses, including something like a pandemic, right? Okay, right, so we have been using ArcMap in class and talking about maps and a lot of visual representations of the world. And, you know, I want to remind y'all that the definition of GIS is geographic information science or geographic information systems. So it is bigger than just making maps, right? And so, you know, it says here, right, GIS are tools that allow for the processing of spatial data into information, generally information tied explicitly to and used to make decisions about some portion of the earth, right? And so a GIS system might include much more than just the software that we're using, right? It might include the data storage and retrieval subsystems and data capture, right? Such as the GPS handheld units that y'all were using. It might be the data manipulation and analysis subsystems, right? So it might be the actual calculations and coding in GIS that processes data. Then some kind of reporting subsystem, whether that's the creation of a map or the production of data and shape files. And then some kind of data sharing mechanism, right? Here's a diagram of that. So data input capture, whether that's, you know, capturing information on your phone or using mental maps or participatory mapping, right? That you can actually draw out information and then digitize it, right? Or y'all created new shape files by looking at satellite data, right? And tracing over that, digitizing that into shape files, right? So there's some kind of data input that's part of the GIS. Then data storage, right? So y'all are keeping your data on your Z drive, which is on some servers on campus, right? I would strongly recommend that you create a backup of that data, as I've been recommending all semester, so that if and when we do leave campus, you know, for spring break and maybe longer, that you have that data on a USB or a Dropbox or a cloud-based system so that you still have access to that, so that you can have it forever. Then, right, some kind of data analysis system, which might be ArcMap, but as you can see, when you start ArcMap, that there's a folder with other software in there too, right? Like ArcCatalog, or is it ArcEarth or ArcGlobe or whatever, it's a 3D globe version, that there's other softwares that are part of the Esri software package that we're using. And we're actually going to use ArcCatalog in the upcoming labs. There's all sorts of tools built into ArcMap that we haven't used yet. Data processing tools, measurement and calculation tools. models and statistical tools, and that we'll start to get a look at in the next lab, right? But it's more than just producing a visual, that there's lots of data processing as well. Then there's the data output, which might be the visual maps that we've been producing, could be some other kind of visualization. It could be multimedia, it could be posted on the web for other people to get. Or the data output could be shape files that you're sharing with someone else who's going to be using it, right? Right, and then there's data sharing over here, which usually if you're creating a shapefile of data you collected and you want to share it, it should be combined with some kind of metadata. Metadata is data about the data, some kind of file that's telling you what's contained in this shapefile. What is this data? How was it collected? What variables were collected, and what metrics were used to gauge the data? Is it in, inches? Is it in metric? Right. So there's all sorts of information that should go along with data, right? And that's called metadata. And then, right, data clearinghouses. We've already looked at some websites that just collect a bunch of GIS data and make that available, right? Whether that's a government institution like NOAA or USGS, or a university or research institute that's making that available. And then, right, there's other ways that people share data or used to share data through, like, CDs and DVDs. Now our laptops don't even have slots for those anymore. The internet is a much more common place to share that kind of data.